I use the cursors on here to forward the slides.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Ken. We are
Okay, so the live stream will be there, and then, okay.
Yeah, and yeah, perfect. You're good to get
Good
started.
to go now. Okay, good morning, everyone in the room, as well as good morning to everyone who may be joining us virtually. My name is Kenneth Evans. I'm the Community Programs Advisor for the MYS Firm. Glad to be with you this morning. Today, what we'll be doing is talking about a program that, as the logo says, can unlock opportunities for you. For those of you that are joining us virtually, we have a room full today, and prior to us joining you online, several people, if not everyone, I think, had a chance to tell us their business idea that is either already underway or that they're thinking about doing. So some really great ideas. And what I want to say is thank you for having the MYS firm. But in addition to that, we want to say thank you very much to the Tourism Business Igniter for having us here this morning. What I'll say is this. I think just about every single idea that was mentioned in some capacity could have some kind of engagement with the Strip corridor or the general tourism industry that we have here in Southern Nevada, if not the entire state. So very pleased to have you have me this morning. And what I hope to do is do two things. Here are the objectives, and we'll check them at the very end. Number one, introduce you to a program, a certification program, that if you complete it or when you complete it, can potentially help you leverage your business idea, especially as it relates to the tourism industry, in terms of letting people know who your business is, that your business is stable, it's organized, and beyond that, it's owned by one of the designated classes, meaning a minority-owned business or disadvantaged business, which will hopefully unlock some more opportunities for you. The second thing that I hope to accomplish here today is, to the extent that you can complete the online screening survey while we're sitting here, doesn't have to be perfect, but to the extent you can complete that and submit that, you'll be well on your way to getting us to evaluate your company to figure out if you're eligible to go further and reap some of the benefits that I'll talk about. So again, the two objectives are to give you an idea of a tool and a resource that can help you leverage your participation in the Tourism Business Igniter for additional opportunities. And then number two, get as many of you as possible to complete your screening survey while we're sitting here and then submit it before you leave. Doesn't have to be perfect. We want to get you in the system. So with that, let me say welcome again. Just to give you an idea, I've kind of launched into the facilitator intro. I'll tell you just a little bit more about myself, although Elias did a very good job, but I'll repeat some of the highlights for those of you that are joining us virtually. So I'll introduce myself a little bit, but beyond that, the bulk of what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the Diversity Certified program. In addition to that, we'll go through the entire online application. Show of hands, does everyone either have an active laptop, phone, Surface, or something that they can follow along? Okay, I see a nodding hand, so that's good. So you'll be able to do that. And then finally, we'll have time for Q&A. And then beyond that, Elias also talked to me about doing a hot seat, so I'm open to that as well. So let's talk about the program, about Diversity Certified. The target audience is minority-owned businesses, and minority means someone, in particular, a business owner that is from one of the designated classes. Typically, they're the ethnically diverse groups, African-American, Latinx, Asian Pacific Islander, but we'll go through that when we actually look at the survey. But the idea behind this program is to help minority-owned business owners get their certification. And you may ask, why do I need my certification? Well, if you look here, two key things. First and foremost, much as the first slide talked about, we want to unlock opportunities for you. So the key is we want to position you to get increased opportunities whether you're working with a public agency or whether you're working with some of the corporate entities, especially within the tourism industry that have supplier diversity programs. Real quick sideline. A lot of times, if you want to go work on the Strip and they do have a supplier diversity program, they want to be assured that you are who you say you are. Well, the best way to do that is to have your certification, especially in this case, the MBE or the Minority Business Enterprise certification. So that's a key benefit right there. The other thing that I'll mention is that if you get your certification, either while you're going through the process or definitely once you get the final certification, it's going to open you up to networks that have resources. For example, the certifying agency for the MBE certification is the Western Regional Minority Supplier Development Council, or WRMSDC. A lot of times they have procurement fairs, they have matchmaking opportunities. They also have the opportunity where they will bring you together with other entrepreneurs and business owners, not only within Southern Nevada, but that's a national certifying agency, but they also have a national network as well. So what that does is that gets you opportunities not only for the tourism industry here, but if you have a tourism-centric business, there may be opportunities other places as well. For example, the Gulf Coast, Atlantic City, Detroit, Biloxi, all of those places have some type of tourism industry that you might be able to take advantage of. So if you get the MBE here, in all likelihood, you can get reciprocity, which will open you up to opportunities other places as well. In addition to that, they have regional procurement fairs where you might be able to go to the Bay Area and possibly pick up some clients right there. I told you that I would tailor things, and I will at this point. While you were introducing yourselves, I heard several individuals say that they are videographers, or that in addition to that, they're photographers. And here's what I'll share with you is that just about any place you go, if it has tourism, there's going to be a need for photographers and videographers. So if you get the certification here, there's a good chance that you can leverage that certification somewhere else as well. And that's just one example right there. But again, many of you, and then in addition to that, I think it was several of the young people talked about the fact that they have fashion, they have clothes, they have an interest in movies. And I want to plant this seed right here. How many of you have heard about the fact that Sony is potentially talking about bringing a big major film? And see, that's the reason why we're doing this. I don't see a lot of heads nodding, but I'm tossing this out there. Here's the homework, especially for those of you that are interested in movie, film, or something related to that. In fact, I'll give you two pieces of homework. First and foremost, see what you can find out publicly, because there is public information that has already been discussed about Sony bringing some type of production plant here to Southern Nevada. The second piece of homework that I'm going to give you is, how many people are aware that there's a Nevada Film Office? Okay, I only see a couple of hands. So more homework. Please check out the Nevada Film Office, because they are there to ensure that local businesses like yours, A, are aware of the opportunities, and then B, potentially are positioned to take part of them. And how does that relate to what we're talking about now? Once again, if you're trying to submit a proposal or going after procurement opportunities, all things being equal, if they have a supplier diversity program, or if they're trying to make sure that community-based diverse businesses participate, if you have your certification, it says you're the type of business they want to do business with. So there are some opportunities out there, but again, it's about doing your homework as well as getting involved with agencies that are aware of the homework. Because I'd be willing to bet, if you talk to Ms. Davis from WRMSDC, she is somewhat aware of some of the things that are going on with Sony, because they're a major corporate partner that WRMSDC, I would hope, is having some kind of interaction with. And there's other examples too. So that's the reason why you want to get the certification. Now, as far as the options, our program will help you get your MBE or your Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, or DBE, as well. Let me tell you another good reason to try to get your certification. As Elias mentioned, part of what's in my background is I was the president for the Urban Chamber of Commerce. Prior to that, I was a business owner and an entrepreneur, as well as I was a small investor, just like many of you. So what does that mean? The same way that you're sitting here getting a presentation on getting your certification, I did the same thing. At the time, I used the Nevada Small Business Development Center, or NSBDC, to get some help and information about certification programs. And the one I focused on was the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise certification, or the DBE certification, which is one of the ones we'll help you get. Here's one of the benefits I had by getting that certification. When they came to do the site visit for my business, and at the time I had a home-based business, I had a whole binder, and I had went through section by section, put all my paperwork in order. So what I'm saying here is, one of the other benefits to getting your certification is it will force you to get your paperwork done, get it organized such that regardless of whether you're trying to get your certification, or in my case, when I was going after proposals, I had everything organized at my fingertips so I could quickly respond to opportunities. Because you may run into people that may say, hey, I need your proposal within 24 to 48 hours. Or if it's a Friday, they may say, I need your proposal or your package by Monday. Well, if you have everything together because you've already been certified, that's another added benefit right there. And yes, I'm not talking about something I think, I'm talking about something I actually use my certification to help me out as a business owner. And I want that for all of you as well. Finally, as far as program support, when I was at the Urban Chamber, one of the things we ran into is a lot of our small businesses, especially the diverse ones, they wanted to get their certification, but they had two challenges. Either A, time and pulling the paperwork together, or B, the other challenge they had in the case of the MBE certification is they had so many competing priorities financially, they just couldn't get to the point where they could pay the fees. So why am I here this morning, and what's the big benefit that I hope all of you can take advantage of? First and foremost, by participating in our program, you'll get up to 8 hours of technical assistance to complete the paperwork. Now, part of it, you'll still be responsible for going through and getting your paperwork or finding it out, but there'll be someone there to help answer questions, or if you're stuck, that's something. And this is no cost to you. If you look at the bottom right of the screen, you'll see it says the American Rescue Plan. Our effort is paid for via the city of Las Vegas, so thank you to them, but it's paid via ARPA dollars. So what that means is there's no cost to you. Let me repeat that, both for the people in the room as well as those of you joining us virtually. This program is done at no cost to you. So what I'm hoping is everyone in here will take advantage of it, but tell other people as well, okay? We have up to, and this is the second thing where it talks about paying for the fees, we have up to 200 slots where we can pay for your initial MBE certification fees. So what does that mean? I don't know what the fees are off the top of my head, and I don't want to try to speak for another agency, but I know it's a decent amount. So what that means is if you're eligible, you complete your screening survey, plus you follow up in terms of the paperwork, and you successfully get through the process, right as you're getting your MBE certification, this program will pay those fees. And that's a great opportunity. And I'm here, and there's others on our team. We just want to make sure none of those 200 opportunities or slots, if you will, goes by the wayside. It is first come, first serve, but I know there's still room for several dozen businesses, hopefully like many of you in here, to take advantage of that. So before I go into the actual application, let me just emphasize one more time. The benefit, as soon as you turn in the screening survey, you should hear from someone within 24 to 48 hours. But as you're making your way through the application process, up to 8 hours of technical assistance. And then beyond that, if you're eligible, you'll be able to get your MBE fees paid by this program. So you won't even have to think about that. Your part will be just getting through the process. And let's talk about that. First and foremost, and this is where If you have a laptop, a phone, or whatever, what I'd ask you to do is to either go to the link on the bottom right of the screen, or if your QR code, you know, when Elias asked the question about how many of you use Chat GPT, all your hands went up, which is good. But guess who is technically challenged and still hasn't used or figured out Chat GPT? I'm gonna hang my hand up by myself. But the reason why I bring that up is because at this point, I know none of you is technically challenged like me. So again, and I see you doing it. And those of you that are online, hopefully you have a way you can click on the QR code, or at least you can click on the link in the bottom right there. But it's www.mysfirm.com/DC/. And so the first thing that we're going to do, which is part one, is we'll go through the screening application. But then what I also want to quickly point out to you is that there's a documentation requirement, meaning you'll have up to 90 days to get your documents turned in. Now, if you can get it done faster, remember I said it's first come, first serve, get it done faster. But a few highlights. First thing is, we'll be looking for you to have tax returns and accounting reports from 2019 to 2022. And this is because this will help substantiate that your business was impacted by COVID. Now, let me say this at this point. If you look at these requirements and you say, I don't know if I meet that, do not eliminate yourself. My thing is, I want every single person sitting here that is a business owner, complete the survey. Let us work with you to figure out if there may be another form of eligibility that you may qualify for. But do not self-eliminate yourself. I really want everyone that's here today to fill this out. In addition to that, we talked about MBE, but there's also the DBE certification. There may still be an opportunity for you to get the DBE. So having said that, I don't want anyone to eliminate themselves. The other thing I'll point out too is, I told you I was a business owner myself. When I first got started, I had a CPA that was working with me to get my financials done. But when times got hard and I had to make some cuts, I didn't have access to the CPA anymore. And so getting my financials done was a challenge. So we understand. So what does that mean? If you get to a point where maybe you need some accounting reports, but you don't quote unquote have them, we may have some templates or some guidance as a part of that technical assistance to help you get it done. But whatever you do, don't stop, don't quit. In fact, that's probably one of the most important general lessons you can learn as an entrepreneur is don't stop, don't quit. We're here to help. Next up, we'll ask you to substantiate COVID impact, and you'll see that when we go through the application here. And then finally, again, just a reminder, be prepared to upload documents. Everything is done digitally with the thought that hopefully that's going to be easier for you. Any questions before I go into the application? Okay. Oh, Elias, pardon me. How do I pull up the application myself?
I'm going to squeeze in right next to you.
Oh, actually, could I do it there?
Yeah, perfect. Cool.
Perfect. All right. Okay, the other thing I'll tell you right now is I'm going to take my glasses off at this point because I'm one of those individuals that as I got older, and believe it or not, I'm 60. So what that means is my eyes, I can see very well up close, I can see well out in the distance, but up close, not so good. So I have to actually take my glasses off now. But what you'll see is once you hit the QR code or once you click on the link, you'll see it takes you to the diversity certified page, and it gives you information about the program. It talks about some of the things that you have to be aware of to determine if you're eligible or not. But again, as I said, don't self-eliminate. Here's one thing too, where you can help us out. If you know other business owners, whether online, you're joining us online or in the room today, but they weren't able to join us either virtually or in the classroom, please text the link to them and say, hey, look, don't give me a bunch of fuss, fill this out, submit it, and let's see if you qualify to get your certification through this program. And so here's the other thing too. One of the things we've been doing with this program is we've made several presentations to different groups or in partnership with different groups. So if you forget something or you need to hear it verbally or through video, there's a couple of videos there to take you through the presentation as well. And possibly we'll be doing the same thing with today's recording and live stream. But with that, let's dive into the application itself. Once you hit apply, you should see the screening survey that'll come up. And I'll go section by section. First and foremost, and here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you enough time virtually as well as in the room to actually complete these sections, and then we'll hit submit as you get through it. First, for purposes of time, I'm going to go ahead and go through the application, but again, I'm going to make enough time for you to actually fill it out and hit submit. Plus, if you have any questions, we'll develop them or discuss them real time. Again, the goal, we said we had two objectives. Number one, tell you about some of the opportunities and how it relates to the tourism business igniter. And then the second goal was to try to have as many, if not all of you, submit your applications while we're here today. So hopefully we're still tracking on those objectives. Okay, all right. So with the business and contract information, all of this is pretty much information you should have about yourself and your business, the name, if you have a website. And that's the thing, if you don't have a website, that's okay. Just fill things out as best you can. But hopefully you do have a business phone number. You have a primary point of contact. Hopefully you have an email. And real quick sidebar here, whatever your email is, that's a good thing. But for my chamber days, to the extent you can get a domain that is business related, just something to think about. But for the purposes of this, whatever email you have, please use that. And then you'll see towards the questions, and ideally you should be able to do this screening survey in about company headquartered in Southern Nevada. And do you have the ability to get a license in the city of Las Vegas? The reason why we asked that question is because, again, I mentioned the fact that the city of Las Vegas has supported the program using their ARPA dollars. Well, what they hope to benefit from is identifying all of you as potential certified businesses that they can involve in their procurement activities at the city. So that's a definite. Basically, they want to expand their base, but they want to expand it with diverse business owners like yourselves. So that's the reason why I asked that question. Now, having said that, if your answer is no, that's okay. Don't self-eliminate. Just say no, keep moving on. And as necessary, somebody will respond to you or follow up with you, as I mentioned, within 24 to 48 hours, business hours. Otherwise, I'm going to get the rest of my team upset at me. And then it'll ask questions about when was the business established. If you have a newer business, meaning it was established about the time of COVID or maybe slightly after COVID, again, do not self-eliminate yourself. Fill the information out so we can have you in our network and our database. Because again, I talked about the DBE certification. There may still be some opportunities there. And then here's a key part. Describe your core services or products. And it's limited to 200 characters. One quick sideline. It was good practice. In fact, Korea, young lady, the youngest entrepreneur here. What's your name, please? Keziah. It was good. You just got practice on your elevator pitch, and that's for everyone here. Always be prepared to give a succinct 1-minute elevator pitch. So just a word to the wise. But what we're asking for here is turn that 1-minute elevator pitch into a 200-character or less description of what you do. We also asked the question, is the business a franchise? Even if you are a franchisor, which sometimes can make it a challenge in terms of ownership as an ethnically diverse business, because it is a franchise, don't let that be a tripping point for you. Answer it to the best of your ability, because depending on how the business is structured, i.e. owned as a franchise, you may still qualify for the program. And again, someone will follow up with you on that. Now, here are a couple of questions that I'm going to expand on a little bit. It'll say, is the business independently owned and operated with full control of its operation? Again, that's where we're trying to get a feel for, if it's a franchise, who actually owns the franchise. It also says, has the business been impacted by COVID-19? And you'll see that when I hit yes there are several potential ways to substantiate the fact that COVID-19 adversely impacted your business. Again, part of the reason why we're doing this program is we want to help ethnically diverse or businesses that could be certified as minority-owned businesses that were hurt by COVID. And at the time, I was at the Urban Chamber, so I know that we had some of our businesses that were impacted. The reason why we're doing this program is to help those businesses that are in that category. So what you'll see here is there's a list of 4 things. You're not limited to one. So you may have 1, 2, or more reasons how you were impacted by COVID. Just click as appropriate, and then that'll be fine. In addition to that, one of the other things that the city has asked us to do is identify businesses that exist or do business within qualified census tracts or QCTs. So if you click on, I'm not going to do it, but it says click here, that will take you to a location where you can figure out if your business is located in a qualified census tract. Because if your business is located in a qualified census tract, you automatically, I repeat, you will automatically be eligible for this program by definition. And then as you continue to go through here, it'll ask you about the type of organization, meaning were you an LLC, sole proprietor, etc. It also asks, were you certified before? Here's what I'll share with you. If you were certified before, and let's say you were an MBE before your membership lapsed, in theory and potentially, you could get your membership renewed or reinstated through this program. And now let's go to the next section where we talk about ownership. And here what we're trying to get a feel for is who actually owns the company, because that's what's going to help us determine whether you're eligible to be an MBE or DBE or not. So you'll fill those questions out. And as you see here, it has a list of all the ethnic designations that potentially would help you be designated as a minority-owned business. And that's the other thing too, is if you're biracial or multiracial, again, you have the opportunity to select several here, as well as there's also other. And then it says, select the option that applies to the majority or 51% or more ownership, meaning your citizenship. And for example, where it says, do you have your birth certificate? I know if you're like me, you're not running around carrying your birth certificate. So if you have it, fine. If you don't, either way, answer the question to the best of your ability, and it may come back later where you have to use some time to get an actual copy of the birth certificate through the Social Security Administration. Next up is legal standing, and what they're doing here is now they're trying to get a feel for, you told us how you're structured, you told us who owns it, but let's make sure that, and several of you talked about this, in fact, I think it was Brittany was talking about having a business that is legitimate and making sure you've done the things necessary to be legitimate. That's what we're getting into here in this section is, do you have a business that is in good legal standing, i.e. it's legitimate? So you'll go through, answer these questions. As you see here, they're going to ask you things about your tax returns. Let's say you've only got 2 years and it's asking for 3. Again, do not self-eliminate yourself. Just say no, and then we'll follow up with you. And just know that we may have to circle back with you to either get transcripts through the IRS, or you may have to request something or go to your tax preparer, or if you do your taxes yourself, you may have to make it a priority. And then it also asks you, do you have any loans or have you filed for bankruptcy within the past 7 years? Because these are federal dollars, sometimes that's a consideration, but I don't want anybody to self-eliminate. What I prefer is fill it out to the best of your ability. If there's something you're concerned about or it's questionable, allow us to follow up with you on that because you may still be eligible for this program. And then it asks you about your bank, do you have a bank? And you can fill that out, as well as it asks you some questions about your headquarters. And hopefully, I'm going through this, but hopefully the silence and the nodding is telling me that you've either already completed it or you're filling it out as we go. And then one thing it says is the business ownership in a trust. If you do have it in a trust, we may have to do some initial research just to make sure that I think it's called the trustee, the key trustee is a minority or someone that falls within those categories. But again, that's something we'll follow up with you about. The last section is the attestation and signature. And what this does is it has you commit to two things. Number one, that you fill the application out to the best of your ability. And you're saying you've been as truthful as possible about it. And what I point out here is I'm not asking you to be perfect. We're not asking you to be perfect. We're asking you to answer to the best of your ability and as truthfully as possible, with the understanding we'll follow up if there's some questions, comments, or concerns. The other thing that we're asking you to commit to is 90 days. The next 90 days, please make getting your paperwork and your documents uploaded a priority. The faster you move through this, the faster we can help you get through this to figure out, A, if you're eligible, and then beyond the eligible, position you for actual certification, and in the case of the MBE certification, actually position you to have your fees paid. And so that's the last thing that you'll do. And then it'll be date time stamp after you sign it. So at this point, I'm going to stop and we're going to roll into Q&A. Brittany or Donald? Is it Don or Donald?
Either one.
Okay, Donald. Go ahead, Brittany.
Before you ask your question, let me just give you a mic.
Yep. Let me hold tight. And while he's bringing the mic to her, here's what I'll say, and this is my rule. Anybody that knows me, something else I'm known for is asking a bunch of questions. And I do that for two reasons. One is how I learn and make sure that I know what I know, to quote one of my colleagues. But the other thing is, in many cases, the very question you ask is probably the question others are thinking too, but they may be too shy, shame, or whatever to ask it. So I'm glad we have some questions. Go ahead, Brittany.
Good morning. I just wanted to ask if, based on the questions that I'm seeing here, to fill out and what you're telling me, I don't know if I missed the information, but is this for a business that's already set up, or if you haven't started as yet, you haven't done anything at this point, maybe just got the EIN, not a LLC, do I still fill out this form?
Yeah, the question was, is it a program designed for a business that is already in business, or if you're still in the ideation or the concept stage, can or should you still fill it out? Here's what I'm going to say. For the most part, the priority is businesses that have already been in business. However, even if you're in the ideation or the concept stage, if you're far enough along where you have accomplished some of these things, still complete it, because what I'll say is there may still be a benefit to being in our network and being in our listing.
Thank you for the answer.
Yep. But definitely what I'll emphasize is if you already have a business, absolutely you should complete this and submit it today. Crystal and Mel.
Ken, right over here.
Oh,
and then
okay.
I got a real simple question. I was looking for the link that you showed us. I see it on your screen, but I don't see it on mine. The one that shows us if we're in the right area and we automatically qualify.
Oh, the QCT form. Oh, the question, and I'll restate it for those of you in the room. The question was, as you were going through the application, I'll go back to it. as you're going through the application, there's a question where it asks you, do you qualify based on COVID impact? And it's a question that's in the business and contact information section. If you go down about 2/3, it says, has the business been impacted by COVID-19? If you click yes, what'll happen is it'll expand. And then once you've expanded, at the very bottom of the 4 potential ways that your business was impacted by COVID-19, you'll see in blue text, it says, click here if you need to access the Quality Census Tract dynamic map. And that'll help you go to the map to see if your business is in a QCT or a Qualified Census Tract. Okay, Crystal?
Yes, this isn't in regards to the application. It's more about how you started in business.
Okay.
You said you had a home-based business.
Mhm.
Did you file as like a sole proprietor at that time or a partnership, or did you get an LLC? And how did you get all of those licenses? Because that process is very confusing to me.
Okay, the question was, they noted the fact that I mentioned I had my own business and it was a home-based business. Yes, very succinctly, but comprehensive as possible. I started my business, I did real estate development. My background, if you will, I'm a retired military engineer. Beyond that, I actually have a degree in civil engineering. I didn't get licensed, although I did get my engineering training initially. But as I got into it, I more and more got into real estate development, both commercial and residential development. So I started my business in 2001 just by myself as a home-based business doing consulting. And to answer your question, I looked into sole proprietor, I looked into partnership, and at the time I looked into LLC. It was still a little bit new, but it was a better way to protect myself financially, and that's from a tax standpoint as well as being sued. Plus, it was a better way to protect myself legally as well in terms of being exposed from an insurance standpoint. When you have a home-based business, what they tell you is there's certain things that you can and cannot do. You can conduct business as an individual, but they definitely don't like to have, as a home-based business, seeing clients there, because typically, whether you own the property or you rent, you don't have the type of insurance to have your home see clients in your home. So to answer your question, those were some of the considerations for me when I decided to do an LLC. If you go to the Silver Flume website, that'll give you some information, but also let me give you a couple of the resources as well. If you either talk to individuals from SCORE or you talk to individuals from the Nevada Small Business Development Center or NSBDC, they can talk you through the pros and cons. Or if you're part of the generation that likes to Google things, you can also Google pros and cons of LLC, or you can Google different ways to form your business entity, and it'll take you through the pros and cons. But that'll help you do some research on that. So I know that isn't the direct, certification thing, but it does relate to the certification because, as you saw, we were going to ask you how you're formed, and within that structure, who owns what. So there is a relationship there. So hopefully that was helpful. Mel.
Yes. My question is the
1
following.
minute. He's going to bring the mic over because I think there's people following online.
My question is the following. I started a nonprofit. My
Okay.
nonprofit gives services. Would this be able to qualify for the certification or not?
And my answer is going to be, I'm not sure. The question was, and for those of you online as well, if I have a 501c3, for example, which is a nonprofit, is that eligible for this program? What I'm going to say is, I don't think so, but rather than me say I don't think so, I'm smart and astute enough to say, fill it out, and then someone will let you know for sure. Okay. The other thing I can tell you is that if you go to the, let's see if I can find it here. If you go to the main programming page, I think there it talks about ownership, but I don't see that type of structure there. So the best thing to do is to fill it out, and then someone will follow up with you.
So I know folks might be confused about the consensus tracks because it's kind of new word. But would it be fair to say if their business is here or around here on the west side, they're going to be in a qualified census tract?
Yeah, the question was, if, for those of you in the room, is if you have a business that's, say, within a 2-mile radius of where we're sitting today, is it in a census tract that in all likelihood is probably a qualified census tract? What I'll say is there's probably a very good chance that it will be. When they talk about qualified census tract, what they're saying is that you're in a census tract where historically there's not been a lot, if any, economic development or community development. And so what they want to do is help businesses or draw businesses to that area. But beyond just drawing them there, they want to provide them with resources so that they can grow and sustain their business. So in short, there's probably a good chance that if you have a business that is domiciled within this general area, say a mile or two, it's probably in a qualified census tract. But the best thing to do, again, is to click on the link. And if you have challenges or whatever, that's the reason why what we say is follow up with someone from our staff and they can help you determine for sure.
So my question is, what if the impact of COVID-19 is that we couldn't form as early as we wanted to? So we came together during COVID-19, but did not have the funds because of job limitations in order to get the business license and do all those things. So we didn't actually form until much later. Is that an impact of COVID-19?
Yeah, here's what the question was, what if you have the case of where you wanted to start your business during the period of COVID-19. However, because of COVID-19, let's say you were planning to fund your business, and I did this myself. I used part of the time when there was some overlap during the transition. I was using my primary work income to subsidize or to jumpstart my business. Well, let's say you wanted to do that during COVID-19, but because of what happened with your primary employment, you weren't able to do that. That might be a scenario that would make you eligible for this program. I don't want to say for sure, but that might be plausible. So again, that's the reason why you don't want to self-eliminate. What you don't want to do is say, well, I had this idea, I wanted to get it started, but I didn't start it until after COVID-19 officially ended, so I'm not going to apply. Please don't do that. Great scenario, Jelena. I'm not going to sit here and say it will be eligible, but it might be eligible. And so because of that, don't self-eliminate yourself. Complete the paperwork to the best of your ability. Here's what I'll also say. Even if you don't qualify for the MBE certification or beyond that, getting your fees reimbursed, you may still qualify ultimately to be an MBE, or beyond that, you may qualify to be a DBE. And that's where maybe the technical assistance can at least help you get your paperwork done in some degree. Any other questions? Okay, I'm gonna put you all on the spot. How many people are either ready to hit submit or think you may be ready to hit submit before you leave today? Show of hands. Okay, that's pretty decent. About third to half will be able to do that. That's good. Okay, let me do this. For those of you that are not quite there, that's okay. What I wanted to point out at this point is, let's say you get stuck, let's say you have a question and I'm not around, please take advantage of the email that is listed here, diversitycertified@mysfirm.com. It goes to a central area. We have multiple people that are monitoring that mailbox, and they'll be able to get back to you and give you some help to get you unstuck. But if you're old school like me, we got a phone number for you, 702-807-5332. Call that number, let Lauren know that you're stuck, and either she or someone else will follow up with you. But again, this is really important. Don't suffer in silence. Don't get stuck by yourself. We have resources and we have staff to get you through the screening survey as well as definitely the other steps after that. So for example, we've had individuals that they did great on the screening survey, but then they either got stuck with the tax forms, with the personal or the company finance forms, or something as basic as trying to get their documents uploaded. You know, we'll do a workaround. I think in one case, although we don't want to do this, I think they had to figure out a way to get someone to fax something or send it as an email attachment. We prefer you upload it like normal, but ultimately we prefer you get through the program successfully. So that's the reason why these contacts are here. And I'll leave this here for a minute if you need to take a picture of it or whatever. All right, I'll leave it here for 30 seconds because I'm reading the room. All right. All right, with that, let me say again, thank you all very much for doing this, especially showing up on a Saturday. What I'm hoping is, when I was at the Urban Chamber, I'll leave you with this last thing because I think it does apply. When I was at the Urban Chamber, I was really big on success stories and celebrating success along the way. So my hope is, whether we come back in 6 months or definitely a year from now, a few of you sitting in this room will be certified, but beyond that, possibly have received some type of procurement opportunity on the Strip or somewhere within our tourism industry as a result of attending today's presentation, answering your questions, submitting your form, and then ultimately participating in the Tourism Business Igniter. So with that, for this set part of the session, I'll say thank you all very much and conclude this presentation, not only in the classroom, but to those of you that have joined us online. Thank you very much.